Okay, everybody, I want to thank you for joining us on our call. Really excited today to have Bob Heilig. That's how you say your name, Heilig, right? Bob
Yes.
Heilig? Okay. Bob Heilig on our call. I started following him a few months ago when probably saw one of your advertisements on Facebook, but have been really searching, thinking that we overcomplicate so much about this business. And I started following your videos, and after almost every single video, I was like, yes, this is what I need to hear. So to be able to sit there and share it with my team, and then to be able to have you on here to speak to us, we definitely appreciate that. So guys, Bob is a 7-figure earner in the network marketing profession. During his 10-year career as a representative, in less than a year, $1 million training company that has helped tens of thousands of entrepreneurs all over the world in the areas of network marketing, personal branding, and online marketing. He specializes in the areas of social media and teaching business owners marketing strategies to help them generate more leads for their business, both offline and online. He creates his content under the name Virtual Ed. His unique, no-nonsense training style has very quickly made him one of the most sought-after network marketing trainers in the world. And most exciting is he's got a new baby on the way. And if you're not following him, I really want to encourage you to do that, because he gives us a perspective of Beachbody, which I think is huge. We've got some awesome leaders within our team, but to get that from outside. So Bob, thank you so much. We're excited to have you on here. Take it away.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate it, Michelle. I'm excited to be here. And yes, I do have a new baby on the way. We're about less than 60 days, or about 60 days away at this point. So I'm trying my best to get in as much work as possible over the next couple of months. So, but I'm excited to be here, and I'll tell you, I've had quite a bit of experience over the last couple of years through private coaching clients, and I've had quite a bit of students that have worked with Beachbody. So I know the company well, and you guys have done some amazing things over there and continue to. But I also feel like I have a pretty good understanding of some of the issues and obstacles and challenges that people commonly face there. And, I was asking Michelle, I said, hey, how do you think I could best add value? Because my goal anytime I have a chance to do one of these calls is I want to hopefully be able to give you a couple of different strategies and insights that you can use in your business to make you better and make more money. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is to be more successful. And the thing that she had mentioned to me, and I wasn't surprised to hear it because, like I said, I've worked with a lot of Beachbody leaders and coaches before, was, really the invitation process and getting more coaches on your team, actively building and kind of closing them into doing that. And I wasn't surprised to hear that, because that had been my experience working with a lot of people in the past. And I can tell you that it's something that I feel like I'm pretty qualified to help you with, because I've been on both sides of the fence in my own network marketing business. My story, really quickly, for those of you that have never heard it before, I spent over 10 years in the profession, and I was probably the furthest thing that you'll see from a overnight success story. My first year in my network marketing business, I struggled big time. I wasn't able to recruit a single person. I had a total of 2 customers after the first year, myself and my mom. And I had to literally guilt my mom into buying my products. I told her I wouldn't come home for Christmas unless she bought, and she bought. So that was it. I mean, that was at 1 year. That's where I was. And I like to share that starting out, because I think it helps people maybe relate to me, and in knowing that I know what it feels like to be discouraged and to question yourself and to wonder if you really have what it takes to be successful in a business like this. And, eventually I kind of figured it out. And I'll tell you, one of the things that really helped me turn the corner was changing my approach when it came to prospecting and recruiting. My background traditionally, I have a background in the medical sales profession. I spent 10 years in that career. And, I was successful, but I was a highly trained professional salesperson. And I came into my network marketing business approaching it the same way that I did my medical sales job. And looking back now, I actually recognize that's one of the biggest reasons why I struggled, because I didn't understand that the recruiting process in a network marketing business is very different from selling some sort of a product or service. There's a couple of core principles that I really want to try to help you understand, that it took me about a year to figure out, but once I did, everything shifted for me. Now, before I get into that, I want to just caution you on something, that if you're here on this Zoom tonight or you're watching the recording and this kind of describes your business to this point, you've got no problem getting customers, right? But when it comes to getting consultants, you really struggle. Maybe you only have a handful, or the people that you do get to become a coach, they never really duplicate and do very much. I will tell you, and by the way, I probably just explained about 90% of your businesses, because that's the reality of this profession. But here's one of the reasons why that happens. I want you to put yourself back into, I want you to think about the day that you joined Beachbody, okay? The day that you made a decision to become a coach and actively pursue the business. I would venture to guess, I would almost guarantee you, that you didn't know a fraction of the information that you know today. You didn't know a fraction about good health and nutrition and weight loss and supplementation. You didn't know a fraction about the products and what was in them and what they did. You only knew a fraction of what you know today about the compensation plan and about building a business. I mean, it was like this small little piece of information that you had when you made the decision to say, yes, I'd like to do this. But then something happens. We join and we get inundated with learning and information, which is good. You need that. But we forget that all of this stuff that we have in our brains now, we didn't need to make a decision our first day. And where we struggle is this. We approach prospects and we information overload them. We feel like in order for us to get someone to want to do this, we've got to download in everything we've ever learned about the business. We got to explain and give to them, forgetting that that's not what they need to make a decision. And, I make the analogy, and this is, if you can imagine this kind of visual here, it paints an interesting visual. Your prospect, all they're looking for is just a little sip of water. And you're opening up and blasting them with a fire hose. And you're knocking them right out of being interested. You're verbally vomiting all over people. And I can guarantee you, I've been doing this a long time, to know that if you're struggling getting coaches and consultants and you're not seeing any duplication, it is for one reason and one reason only. You are talking too much. You are making the process way too difficult. So what makes someone decide they want to pursue the opportunity and be a coach? Well, most of the time, it's not the information that you give them or what you say. It's, number one, they're at a time in their life where they're dissatisfied and they're looking for something. Number two, they trust and like you enough that they're willing to partner with you. And number three, it's really a feeling and an experience that you give them, right? I know, the path to people being coaches is obviously the experience and the transformation they see with the products. And, mentally people are on board about that part. But then when it comes to actually like being a coach, we make it seem way more complicated than it actually is. And it starts to kind of scare people away, and they start thinking, I don't have the time, ability, or desire to do that. And everything stems from this one thing that I want you to really kind of get. I'll say it to you the way that it was explained to me. My mentor said, Bobby, he said, listen, you have to understand that when you personally are giving the information to a prospect, when you're doing the explaining, what you're really doing, whether you realize this or not, is you are making yourself the expert, right? When you're presenting the information, you're explaining, you're answering questions, that's what's called first person. And why that's deadly to your business is if I'm on the other side of that conversation, you have to understand that the vast majority of your prospects, I would argue 70 to 80% of them, do not consider themselves sales people or sales types. And what they see you doing in that interaction is something that they're very averse to. They don't want to have to be in a position to have those types of conversations. So the question is, okay, I get it, but how the heck do I deliver the information without actually physically saying it? Well, that's where we have to learn how to start leveraging what's called third-party tools. And I'm sure this is not a new concept. You all have probably heard this spoken about before. If you haven't, I'm going to make it really simple for you. Third party is really easy to remember. It's literally anything but you. Third party could be a video that you share with someone that explains how the opportunity works or explains the answer to a question that they have. It could be, a sample of your products. That's a third-party tool. It could be the website. It could be a brochure. It might be a recorded phone call. Some teams use recorded calls to deliver information. It might be a three-way call or a live physical meeting or a Zoom with someone that's in your support team. See, what you have to learn is this. The less that you physically say, the more you're going to make. Let me say that again. The less you say, the more you make. Now, why is that? Because when we start saying less, when we start leveraging tools, here's what we start demonstrating to our prospects, that this is a simple business, right? If I show someone that's a customer of mine how they can simply share their they have to do is press play on a video or have someone listen to a call or send them to a website and they can get all of the details there. What it does is it empowers people to think, you know what? I can do that. That's not difficult. I don't need to be some sort of super salesperson or have all the information or know all the answers. So when we start saying less, people start paying more attention and being more interested. Now, I will acknowledge this, though. Saying less is incredibly difficult to do, especially when you're dealing with a company like yours, where I know probably the vast majority of you are a coach today because you had, in a lot of cases, a life-changing transformation, whether that's through weight loss or personal health and fitness. So it's like we want to share this with people, but we always have to be reminding ourselves the things that we need to be sharing are just related to our own personal stories and acknowledging the fact that once we get into explaining all the details and the ins and outs, that's when you start to lose people. That's where you have to start leveraging third-party tools. Now, if you're not sure which third-party tools you have at your disposal that you should be using, then I would encourage you to reach out to Michelle and ask her. I guarantee you there is a number of different things that you can start using. So let me give you some coaching and some help on what it actually looks like to start saying less, okay? Well, I'm going to share with you 3 phrases right now that I found myself using time and time again that helped me bridge the gap of resisting explaining and trying to just get people to listen to and watch and leverage third-party tools. Here's 3 phrases that if you can start using, I guarantee you it will make you a more effective recruiter. Number 1 is this. It may or may not be for you. It may or may not be for you is a very powerful positioning statement. Here's the reason why. When I say that up front, if I'm talking to Jennifer, and Jennifer is a customer of mine, and I say, hey, Jennifer, I really, really would love to share with you the opportunity to be a coach. I got to tell you this, it may or may not be for you. That creates a very powerful dynamic between Jennifer and I, because now she feels like she's not going to be pressured. She feels like, you know what, there's an out here. If I take this next step and I agree to look at the opportunity, I know that if I decide it's not for me, that's going to be okay. Here's what else it does. And this is a very, very powerful thing that a lot of people completely miss this. You have to understand, it's almost like I want you to picture a dance that's happening between you and your prospect. It's a very subtle dance. And the dance goes like this. If your prospect feels like you need them, it's going to make them, in a lot of cases, want what you have less. So the more they feel like you need them, now how do we convey that? Well, that's what happens when we're badgering and we're explaining and selling, and we don't listen when someone says no, and we just keep, pouncing on them and trying to get, like when they feel like you need them really bad, it makes it less attractive to them. But it also works the opposite way. If they start to get a sense that you don't really need them, guess what it makes them do? It makes them want it more. It makes them more curious. So when I say it may or may not be for you, I'm starting to posture myself like, look, I don't need you. I'd love to work with you. You'll understand two things. Yes, you would love to work with that person, but you don't need them. And you have to realize that. Now, I know that that's easy to say for me, or maybe someone like Michelle that's got a large team. Like, I remember what it was like where, my sponsor's like, Bob, you don't need them. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't have anyone. You don't understand. I do need them. I need someone to join eventually, right? So it's like, it's hard to not have that kind of posture, but we have to remind ourselves that we have to play the dance the right way. So it may or may not be for you. Really powerful thing to say. Here's the second thing. Would you be open? So if I say, Jennifer, look, it may or may not be for you, but let me ask you this. Would you be open to taking a look? Those two phrases together, really, really powerful. I've had very few people in my career as a network marketer, if I've approached them in the right way, where I wasn't trying to sell and explain too much, and I had a connection and some trust with them, and I use those two phrases, there were not many people that would tell me no. And I got news for you. You say those two things to someone, may or may not be for you, but would you be open? If they say no, then guess what? They just saved you a lot of time because they're not a prospect, right? Like, we have to learn that it's not our job to sell and convince everyone that we talk to. It's our job to share the information with them, right? I want you to think of your job in the recruiting process as not selling, it's educating. That's what you are. You're an educator. I'm looking to educate someone on what I have. Get this part. This is important. So that they can make an educated decision if it's for them or not. See, we have to learn that it's timing. It has always been and always will be timing. Not everyone is in the right place at the right time that they're going to do something like this. So we have to be able to meet people where they are and realize it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to sort and find the people that are looking. But we're always reminding ourselves, am I making this too complicated? Am I demonstrating the right or the wrong thing? See, because here's another major aha moment that I had. I used to think that the training process for a new representative started when they signed into the business. And I remember saying, all right, they just signed up, time for me to start training them. I had no clue that I was so wrong. Here's what I've come to learn, and here's what you need to realize. The training process for your new people starts the moment you open your mouth to them. Before they even know what it is that you're doing, before they even become a customer. Because I'm going to tell you something else. Here's another place where some of you are falling into the trap. When I talk about third-party tools, please understand it applies to not just the coach process, but also the customer process. See, on the front end, when I'm trying to get someone as a customer, even if I'm not yet presenting coach to them, I have to use third-party tools whenever possible to be demonstrating to this person that I just want to try the products, that it's so simple to get someone on the products. Because maybe a couple of weeks or a month later, when I start to have the coach conversation with them, guess what they're going to think back to? When I got them as a customer. And they're going to remember, was that a simple process or not? And if you're information downloading everything you know about nutrition and weight loss and supplementation, they're not going to be interested. So we have to be going all the way back to the front. Always ask yourself this. Is there a video that I could play for someone that could explain this instead of me explaining it? Always remembering we're trying to make it simple. Now, here's where it becomes here's where some people struggle with this. Their ego gets in the way because they don't want to be in front of someone and seem like they don't know the answers. Well, I want them to know I know the answers. Look, it doesn't matter. See, what are you trying to do? You trying to pump your ego up and feel good about yourself, or are you trying to build a successful business? Because the moment you realize that, you'll push your ego aside and you'll start to do things like this. You know what, Amanda, that's a great question. You know, I could answer that, but I have a video that'll do a better job. Let me play it for you. Or you know what, let me take you to the website and let me show you. Or, hey, I've got the packet right here. Let's take a look. I'm always using tools to demonstrate that simplicity, right? So we're always going back to asking ourselves that, are we constantly demonstrating that? Here's the third phrase. So we it may or may not be for you. Would you be open, right? Would you be open? And then the third phrase is this. If I would you. If I said, hey, Kelly, if I gave you a video to watch, would you check it out? Kelly, if I invited you over my home next week to a party that I'm having, would you come check it out? If I introduced you to one of my business partners and good friends of mine, would you be open to having a conversation? If I would you. Now, why is that important? Because you can convince someone to do anything that they decide they want to do. Let me say that again. You can convince anyone to do what they decide they want to do. So here's where I used to do this wrong. I used to say something like this. I used to say, hey, Angie, I have a video. I'm going to send it to you. I want you to watch it. Okay. Well, she didn't agree. She wanted to watch it, right? There's no buy-in. Now, if I say, Angie, if I sent you a video, would you watch it? And she says, yeah, okay. Well, guess what? Now all I'm doing is what she asked me to do. So when I send that video, that follow-up is a much different process. But if you can start weaving those three phrases in, you learn how to share your own story as it relates to the business, right? Because you got to understand, stories sell. Now, all of you probably have a story as it relates to the products, but I want you to think about what's your story as it relates to the business. When you're sharing your story with people, I want to give you I'm going to give you three things that you can focus on. When you're sharing your story, what you're looking to do is you're looking to relate to your prospect and hopefully get them to understand that Beachbody could be a solution to a problem that they have in their life. And I'm going to tell you that there's only four areas that there are four areas that the vast majority of people will be lacking in at some point in their life. Time, money, security, and health. Time, money, security, and health. Almost everyone is lacking in one of those 4 areas, some of them multiple areas. So here's why I'm sharing this with you. Because when you start to think about what your personal story is, I want you to think about those 4 buckets. And if any of those 4 things were problems in your life when you first started pursuing the opportunity, and how Beachbody was a solution to those problems. So I'll give you an example. My story, when I used to tell it, was I was in medical sales. And, I found myself working harder and harder every single year, right? Less time for less money. And you know what? That wasn't okay with me. I found myself literally waking up every day with no sense of purpose, just going through the motions. And what made it even worse was all around me, I was watching my coworkers and colleagues lose their jobs because of downsizing and things like that. And you know what it made me realize? That I didn't have control. Now, in that 30-second story, I covered lack of time, lack of money, and lack of security. Now, I learned how to share that story in a way that if you were a prospect and you were struggling with any of those areas, guess what you were going to do? You were going to relate to me. And then if I told you that I found this company and it was a solution to my problems, here's how, I just created enough curiosity in you for you to at least want to find out what it is. Now, most of you are going to add the 4th bucket, which is health, right? Because of the company you're in. But I want you to start thinking about, how can I start sharing my story as it relates to the Beachbody opportunity, and how that time, money, or security or health, how I could weave those things in. Now, if it's not true, don't say it. But think about how you could share your story in a way that it'll allow you to relate to a larger group of people. And these are the types of things that are going to make you effective when it comes to getting people interested in the opportunity. So, Michelle, that was the main stuff that I wanted to share. Hopefully that was helpful. I see we have a bunch of questions, so I want to make sure I leave some time to take some questions. So I'll kind of turn it back over to you. And if you want to read them or have people ask, I'm good, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, guys, if you can just replace your questions that you might have in the comments, that would be great, and we'll get started. All that was absolutely golden. Guys, I want to let you know that some of the stuff that he's covering right now, he covers also in his videos on the Your Virtual Upline page. And I'm not getting paid to say this, but you've come from a point, I've been in this business now for 4.5 years and struggling, trying to figure out how to not overcomplicate things. And this makes a lot of sense. If you hear craziness in the background, my kids are having a party before school ends. My teenagers are. So
no problem.
First question is, can you repeat the 3 things we need to remember for prospects? I was only able to write down and relate to prospect.
The 3 things, the 3 phrases?
You know what, Sarah? Message me. I took notes on all of that. I will get that.
Sometimes I get on a roll and I start saying stuff and I don't even know what I'm saying. I forget it. So sorry about that.
One of the questions I know I have for you, and I know that some of the other team members have had, is how do you take them? Like, what are your biggest tips on closing? On taking it from having them watch the video to closing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand that closing normally happens as a result of the exposure process, meaning that most people, they get to a point where they either have enough information to make a decision, yes or no. But eventually, here's what's got to happen. You got to ask them a closing question. So like let's just say I have Michelle and she's my prospect, and I've given her, she's tried the products. I've shared several videos with her, and maybe she's had a chance to even talk to someone in my upline or support team. Like, she's literally gotten everything she could need to make a decision. I always used to ask, I'll give you some actual questions and some like things that you could say. I would always say this, I would say, Michelle, let me ask you this. do you see an opportunity for yourself, or do you hear an opportunity for yourself? And if she says yes, then my next question is this: awesome. Are you ready to get started? Like, just ask the question. Look, you will be shocked sometimes at how simple it is to enroll people. Like, I can remember when I would be like training like some of my new leaders, it would drive me crazy because I could, I would be like, we would be at a coffee meeting and I would just be sitting there watching them present and just giving them feedback afterwards. And they would go through a presentation and it was so clear to me that this person was ready to sign up. I mean, they literally like had their hand on their wallet ready to give them their credit card, and they would not shut up and stop talking. Like, they just felt like they had to there was never an end to the presentation. Like, whenever you're done, say, great, Michelle, do you see an opportunity? Yes, awesome. Are you ready to get started? The sooner you can ask that question, the faster you'll actually get into the real discussion you need to have. Michelle will say, well, no, I'm not. Okay, great. Well, what information do you need to make a decision? And then I'm going to have her tell me, and I'm going to get her that thing, and then I'm going to ask her again. Here's another question. I learned this, actually, most of you are probably, have had a chance to read Eric Worre's book, Go Pro. And in that book, Eric teaches this kind of 4-question close. And I've used this like my whole career. Here it is. If Amanda's my prospect and I'm not sure where she's at interest level, guess what I do? I ask her. I say, Amanda, let me ask you this. Interest level of 1 to 10, 1 being not interested, 10 being you're ready to sign up today, where are you? And I force her to give me a number so that I know in my head where she is. Now, she might say 3. Guess what? That's a good answer because it's higher than 1. It means she has some level of interest. So here's my next question. Amanda, what do we need? What do I need to give you to make your 3 a 4, 5, or a 6? And she will tell me exactly what her objection is or what she needs. And then guess what I do? I give her that piece of information. I move her to the next step in the process, and then I start all over again. Right? Now, I'll tell you this. If someone gives you an answer of 7, 8, or 9, you can probably get them to sign up that exact time that you're with them. But if they're less than a 7, they ain't signing up, so don't push them. Just move them to the next step of the process, get them the information they need. But if they are interested, shut up, give them the pen, right? Sign them up and let them get started. Like, sometimes we forget, we just make it more difficult than it needs to be.
That's awesome. That's gold. And one of our coaches, Sarah Kroger, is asking, how do you handle people who ask the detailed questions? Like, who ask, well, what's in psychology? Or those questions where you want to get into the details. How do you handle that? Like,
I have a third-party tool that I share with them. I say, Michelle, that's a great question. I could answer that, but I've got something that'll do a much better job than me. Here's a video. Hey, are you in front of the computer? Let's hop on the website and I'll show you exactly what's in the product. Now, here's the key. Here's what some people don't realize. I could literally be physically reading the information to them, but if we're both looking at the website, that's still a third-party tool. Maybe I have a brochure or something. See, what I'm trying to demonstrate to them is that there are resources in place that make this simpler for them. Now, I could just give them the whole answer, but you know what? There's a better than not chance that by doing that, you might be satisfied because you got the answer, but then here's immediately what you're thinking. Yeah, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't have the time to do that, right? So you're going to lose people more times than you're going to win them. Now, listen, I'm gonna just let me say this, because I realize that when I train this kind of stuff, it's very black and white, right? I'm just like, don't do this, right? So like on a scale of 1 to 10, I train on a 10. Now, I know that's not the real world, though. I know what it's like to be in a conversation with a real person. It's easy for us to say this here. So here's what my goal is, and here's what I want you to understand. If you're at a 4 right now, and by me training at a 10, can get you to a 6, you don't have any idea how much better you will be in your business. Now, here's what going from like a 4 to a 6 or a 7 looks like. The moment someone asks a question, you do what you always did. You start answering it. And then about 3-4 sentences in, you catch yourself and you say, you know what? I'm just going to shut up and let me play something for you. And by the simple act of doing that, you're going to get better. And it's like, it's these little baby steps. We get a little bit better every time we do that. Our awareness about what we do. I'll give you something you can do that will be both horrifying, but also one of the most helpful things you'll ever do. Record yourself talking to a prospect. Like physically record yourself on your phone talking to a prospect, and then when you're done, listen to it, and you will be mortified. You will be like, no freaking wonder they're not interested. What the hell am I saying? I've never even said that before. Why did I say that? Right? You'll catch yourself doing and saying things that you don't realize you're doing. And then guess what? Next time you won't say that. You'll be a little bit better. So it's these small little baby steps that get us to where we want to be.
That was really good. Thank you. Okay, we have one more question. And that is, okay, so we're all fans of your videos that you do on live video. We're all working on live video more. And a couple of the coaches have taken your challenge to try to do live video every day. And one of our coaches has done it every single day on her like page and has not been getting engagement. It's not gone up at all. And so she started to maybe do some on her personal page. And she's like, well, what do you do in that case? Like, where do you do? Do you focus on your personal page? Do you focus on your like page?
Yeah.
And that being said, I want to quickly just qualify. We have a lot of moms with a lot of kids on our team. And this one in particular has 9 kids. She's a homeschooling mom, but we all love her. She's amazing. So she has a lot to offer.
Yep.
So
my answer, I get this question a lot. My answer is this. For 9 out of 10 people in network marketing, the focus should be their personal profile. Should be their personal profile. Unless you have a business page that already has a lot of likes, we're talking thousands of likes, a big community, the only way you're going to get attention is you have to pay money. You have to run ads and sponsored and boosted posts. It's the only way you can build an audience. And for most people, they don't know how to do it, and they wind up just wasting money. And, so unless you're already established in your network marketing business, meaning you've got a big team, an established business, and you're at the point where you're really kind of tapping out your network, then a business page does have some big advantages, but I would never abandon my personal profile. As a matter of fact, I actually stopped doing videos on Periscope to do them on my personal profile at the same time as my business page, because Facebook is making it so much easier to get live videos in front of people on a personal profile than they are a business page. So I would be focusing my time and attention on my personal profile, because that's where most of the people you are, that's connected to, that's where they are. And if you haven't recruited them yet, guess what you haven't done? You haven't built a strong enough relationship or demonstrated enough value to them, and that's what video helps you do. Now, if you have a business page already and it's been successful, meaning that you've made sales and you've spent some time on there, you can still create content there, but I'm telling you, do not leave the personal profile, because that's going to be where you're going to get the most bang for your buck.
Wow. That's pretty interesting, because we've gotten such back and forth, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, Michelle, let me just say this. Let's be real, okay? I'm here to tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Let me be the bad guy. I'll tell you 9 times out of 10, the reason why somebody goes to a business page is they're afraid. The only reason they do a business page is because they're scared of doing it on their personal profile, because their family and friends will see. So they're so scared to death, they're like, well, let me just do the business page, tricking themselves, thinking, well, that's the smart thing to do. It's not the smart thing to do. It's the easy thing to do, right? So get over the fear, put yourself out there, and you'll be amazed at things that happen once you do that.
I think that's really good advice, especially for our team, because that's been one of the big struggles. So if we have a like page up for some of our coaches who've been going back and forth, do you recommend just putting the like page on hold?
No, well, listen, I'll say this. If it's working for you, and how I define it's working, you are consistently making sales and getting recruits, then keep doing it. But I guarantee you, for 99% of you, I just made the decision for you to not do it anymore, because you're probably spending time and nothing's happening over there. Now, if it's working for you, keep doing it. If it's not, then just humor me and try shifting your focus for a couple of weeks to your profile and see if that doesn't create better results for you. And if it doesn't, then go back to what you were doing before. And by the way, you could do what I do. You could get 2 phones and broadcast live at the same time on your page and your profile, and just stare in between the 2 phones. That's what I do.
Yeah, confuse me for a little bit. Which one are we on here? No, that's awesome. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what a lot of us need to hear being moms. So I guess like one other last question I would have would be, you work with a lot of different network marketing companies. So you have an outside perspective, which is something I like. Having seen other companies in Beachbody and gotten to know leaders in various levels, what would you say would be the biggest piece of advice that you could give from the outside looking in to something you've seen as a whole will make a difference?
I would just say that the vast majority of people that struggle in network marketing, it's really for one reason and one reason only. They don't work hard enough. They don't work consistently hard enough. That's it. Everybody likes to say they're an entrepreneur and they're building a business, but most people have no clue what that means. They don't know what it really means to be an entrepreneur and work day in and day out, seeing no results, not taking a paycheck, and still continue to do the things you need to do. Prospect. Till when? I don't know. Till it works for you. Get better, right? So it's a combination of working harder, but then also sharpening your saw. Understanding that if you work hard doing the wrong thing, you're not going to get anywhere. So it's doing more, it's being more consistent, but then it's also constantly trying to refine your skills and get better. And if every day you show up and you go to work and you just become a little bit better than you were the day before, it's only a matter of time before you are successful in your business.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I want one last thing is, I know I just signed up for your training and I'm really excited to go through that. Do you want to take 2 seconds just to share what you're offering, what you have to offer, and how that can help the ladies?
Yeah. So I will, this is probably kind of a weird thing to do, and I will tell you, I don't want you buying anything that I have right now. But here's what I do want you to do. I want you to connect with me. My website is bobheilig.com. And if you're not on my email list already, I want to ask you to get on there. I've got a free audio training on there that I think is one of the best trainings I've ever done. It's called the 4 Mental Enemies of Success. Just make sure you're connected to me. Here's why. In about 6 weeks, I am going to be launching the single biggest thing that I will ever do in my career. It is what I truly believe I've been called to do. It's my purpose and mission on this earth. It's going to be targeted to helping create the next wave of leaders in the network marketing profession that not only elevate this profession, but change the world in the process. It's an idea that I've had for several years, and I am going to be finally pulling it together and launching it because I know, I feel like I know what people really need to be successful. And guess what? It's not another online course. People have enough of those. They need a community of people that they can be a part of, where they can get ongoing support and encouragement, and they can get the cutting edge training that they need when it comes to marketing and learning how to be a better leader, because that's what most people struggle with. And I'm going to be announcing something in early September, mid-September, that I truly believe is going to change the game for a lot of people. So I will tell you, just get connected with me so you can stay in the loop as I make announcements and we get closer to. But I've never been more excited in my life about anything that I've done, because I really have a sense of what it's going to provide in terms of transformation for people that are a part of it.
Well, all I can say is that I have been searching for 3 years for leadership in network marketing, in taking all those principles. So we're really excited. Thank you again for taking the time out of your night and from your family to be able to pour into our team. We're very excited, and I wish you definitely the best of luck. We're going to be following right along. So
yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Shell. Hey, thank you to all of you that have been supporting me, and anything I can do to help, let me know.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. See you. Have a good night, guys. See you.